I am 19M, my mom 47F, and my dad 51M. Got divorced 3 years ago. It was tough for me. I tried to convince them to not break my family, but they didn't listen to me and went with divorce. But for both my parents, I got used to it and tried my best to maintain a good relation with both of them, and they also were polite to each other and were in contact and still is, which I think is for me. My mom is still single, but 2 years ago my dad introduced me to his then GF. She would come over often. I told my mom about it. Back then she was upset, but she asked me to accept it. I live with my dad. The house we live in is owned by both my mom and dad. My mom said I should stay with my dad cause when the time comes she will transfer her ownership to me and I can have full ownership of the house in future. Anyway, my dad got married to his GF 4 months ago, so my stepmom moved in with us. She was always polite and kind to me. Over time she said she thinks of me as her son. I didn't say anything. I call her by her name. She hugs me a lot, asks me if I have eaten, often calls me when I am out, shit like that. She would play with my hairs and buys products for me, skincare and stuff, and make sure I use them. If I didn't, she would herself do it for me, or force me. I didn't want to create a drama, so I let it be. One time I asked her why is she so invested in me. She said she thinks of me as her son, cause she can't have any. So she takes care of me and thinks of me as hers, whether I think the same or not. I used to blame her for my parents' divorce and was rude to her, but I got over it and started being kind to her. I regularly talk to my mom and I tell her everything. My mom said if she's showing you kindness, then so should you. 2 days ago, my stepmom's friends came over. When they came over, I greeted them, and I went to my room to play games. They stayed for hours. When I came out of my room, my stepmom said, "My son, I ordered pizza. Eat up." Now, I got angry. I said, "I am not your son. I am your stepson, and only in name. The only one who can call me their son is my dad and my mom, and you aren't my mom." Before she would call me by my name, but why did she call me her son? My stepmom started crying. Her friends didn't say anything to me. They started consoling her and my stepmom kept crying. One of her friends said I have hurt her and said things I shouldn't have and asked me to go back to room. I didn't want it to escalate, so I left. Though to me it felt like I was being ordered around in my own home. Later, when my dad arrived, he confronted me and said I shouldn't have humiliated her. And even my mom called me and said I was out of line. Both of them are saying that I should show kindness and treat her right. If she thinks of me as her son, then I should let her. My mom personally came over and said I should apologize. It's rare that another woman thinks of her stepson as son. You are being loved by so many people, and I should be grateful. She could have been mistreating me, but she's doing far more for me than she should have. My parents asked me to apologize, but I refused. I think I have only one mom and one dad. I just corrected my stepmom that I am not her son but stepson. Am I the asshole here? What do you think about the story? Here are some popular comments.
I think her intentions are well, but if it makes you uncomfortable, then it doesn't matter. Also, you're 19, not a little child, so IDK why she thought you would be okay with something like that as is. She probably wanted to show off for her friends, but it didn't go the way she planned. It's okay to be loved by a step-parent and love them back, but she is crossing boundaries and that needs to be spoken about. I wouldn't apologize personally, but I would sit down and explain how she's been overstepping and making you uncomfortable, and then maybe you can apologize for her crying.
You are entitled to have your boundaries, and your stepmother overstepped. I think it's absolutely amazing that your mom said that you were out of line. Not because I agree with her, because I obviously don't. It's because she wants what's best for you. And she should actually be working for the United Nations as a peacekeeper. She is looking at the bigger picture, and she seems to see something that you haven't considered. She owns half of that house. She is going to put that in your name, and you seem to believe that means you get the whole house. It doesn't. Your dad now has a wife, unless he has a will which states that you get his half, or you live in a state where assets you own prior to a marriage are not considered community property. Your dad's wife may automatically inherit his half of the house. Your mom is looking at the bigger picture and doesn't want you to alienate your dad by being mean to his wife. Either that or she is just a really, really kind person. You need to look into this. Seriously.
I would tell her, I am sorry if your feelings were hurt. However, I do not feel comfortable with you calling me son. You can call me your stepson. I was also taken aback when you called me that. You usually call me by my name. I don't know if that was just because your friends were there, but it made me very uncomfortable. We should stick to using names or refer to each other stepson/stepmom to avoid anyone feeling hurt or uncomfortable in the future. I understand you view me as your son, but I already have a mom and it feels disrespectful to give anyone else that title, whether she is okay with it or not.
You're 19, not 9, and you experienced a lot of pain with your parents' divorce. You're doing your best, but she's overstepping boundaries left and right to meet her own needs. I'm sorry she can't have kids of her own, but trying to turn a legal adult into her little boy is disrespectful and creepy, in my opinion. She pushed your boundaries in front of strangers thinking you'd go along with her little fantasy, and it backfired in a big way. And that's on her, not on you, and I'm disappointed in your parents placing the burden of keeping the peace when that's not your job. NTA, and I'd ask you to speak to your parents and explain how you feel. Her needs are not your responsibility. You can be polite and respectful while still maintaining the relationship as it's comfortable for you. I'm sorry you're in this position. Divorce is hard to navigate. Good luck.
She's been treating you with respect, and you took out your issues on someone who wasn't responsible. Go see someone and work those issues out. Apologize when you're ready. Part of being an adult is owning up to your fuck-ups.
You were essentially grown when she came into your life, so it seems odd to me that she is this insistent on babying you. She is your dad's wife, not your mom. I think you need to explain to both of your parents that you are their son, and while you will respect any partners they choose or have chosen, they should not expect you to treat them as a parent, nor are you willing to serve as a surrogate son for the partners of their choice. If your parents' partners wish to become parents within their own right, there are means to fulfill those dreams that do not involve you.
Your stepmom should not try to be a second or replacement mom to you. But also, you're an adult and can treat people better than you did. This woman has shown you nothing but kindness. You don't have to treat her as a mother, but I see no reason to treat her so disrespectfully.
You are an adult and were an adult when she married your dad. You get a say in how you want to be treated by her. Do not do it to keep the peace. What she did was play stupid games and win stupid prizes. She wanted to act the mom in front of her friends, but it backfired because she changed the rules of your relationship without telling you, thus humiliating herself. You need to sit her down, and you need to set your boundaries. You need to set her down, firm and clear. You lay out everything you are not happy about and tell her it stops. Do not settle just to appease her at the sake of your own happiness.
Yeah, that was out of line, and I think you knew it. You seem to have a lot of unprocessed anger about your parents' divorce and should seek a therapist you can talk to if you don't have one already. You deserve someone in your corner who isn't the internet writ large. It sounds like you have been developing a warmer relationship with your stepmom such that scolding her in front of others to not call you her son probably hurt extra badly. It also sounds like you are trying to justify to yourself that you were defending your mom when even she is saying you were rude, and you were. That's maybe a reaction I would see out of a kid in their early teens, not a 19-year-old, but even a tween would recognize they were expressing their feelings in an angry and hurtful way. You could have asked to talk to her about it later, or if a single comment was something you felt you needed to address in the moment, you could have just said, just call me, name/nickname you prefer, stepmom, and left it at that. Nobody was confused about who your mother is. YTA in that moment, but you can still make the adult call now to stop punishing your stepmom for caring about and loving you, even through you seemingly still blaming her for a divorce she didn't cause.
You could have either pulled her aside or spoken to her about it later. If it was really that pressing, you could have said it in a much gentler way. Families split all the time. At some point, y'all have got to get over it and move on. That woman isn't hurting you or mistreating you and did not deserve for you to speak to her like that. You're a 19-yo who sounds like a 5-yo.
A kinder way would have been, insert name is actually my stepmom, but she treats me very well. That what you have established, she is not your mom, but complimented her. so she is not embarrassed by your words. Please curb your anger. You are angry about the divorce. With the time span, it does not sound like she in any way caused the divorce. In fact, you should not be angry about the divorce at all. You are putting your happiness above that of your parents. Why should they stay in an unhappy situation just for you? They waited until you were 16 and old enough to understand. The marriage could have been miserable for years, and they stuck together for you. Sit down with either your mom or your dad or both and ask why they divorced.
Yes, you're 19, but you still have a lot of growing up to do. Yes, only your mother and father should have the right to call you son. Having another person love you as much as your mother does mean a lot to you. You are definitely a dick and an asshole for embarrassing her in front of her friends. An adult would have said thank you, that would be great. And if it still bothered you that she called you son, then have a adult conversation with her and explain that you prefer her not to call you son, you respect and love the relationship you have, but it's still not a mother-son relationship.
Yeah, you sound like an AH dude. Did you lie about your age to stay more anonymous? Because your behavior is that of a 12-year-old. Everyone else seems to be able to get along while you continue to act like an AH for no justifiable reason. Getting major selfish vibes from you, post, and comments.
I have two sons around your age, and what I want most is for whoever their dad is with to treat them well. That is the reason your mom is insisting that you apologize. She's afraid this will strain your relationship with your stepmom and become problematic for you. This is especially true if your dad is the one holding the purse string. Your stepmom has overstepped her boundary and was acting in her own interest. Just because she can't have her own biological child doesn't mean she can claim you as hers. What she did was indeed disrespectful and dismissive of your mother's role in your life. What you can do is to apologize to her for reacting the way you did in front of her friends, but be very clear that she was making a claim that was making you very uncomfortable and that made you feel was disrespecting your mother. You can also add that you do like her and appreciate her care for you, but you see her as a nice adult person not related to you, nor a parental role.
Look, I get being angry at your parents, but you have to understand that them divorcing, while harsh for you, is a relationship between both of them. That doesn't change them being your parents or their love for you. You are 19 years old, so I won't sugarcoat it. If they got to the point of divorce after about 20 years together, assuming they dated a while before they got married, things were not good between them. One day you will leave your home, you'll have your own family, and they would have been left with each other. Take it from someone who has everything around them, from broken homes to happy marriages. It's better to have divorced parents who made that decision while the respect is still there and who get along well, than to have parents who are still together but hate each other because they wish they've broken up years ago. Your stepmom is not the one who broke your family. And if your own mom says you are unkind, then probably you are. Your dad may be biased, as this is his wife, but your mom? I don't think so. There are lots of step-parents who hate their stepchildren's very existence, and to what you describe, she's nothing but loving to you. I am not saying you should love her, or even like her, absolutely not. But she treats her as you own, to the best of her ability, so I think you should be kinder to her. Which brings us to the situation at hand. What I think happened is her trying to show her friends she views you as her own, and to her, it doesn't matter she didn't give birth to you. You are not obligated to feel the same way, though. But I think you should have pulled her aside and asked her to refer to you as her stepson or her husband's son because you have one mother and one father. This would have been absolutely reasonable ask.
This is all around creepy. I understand you didn't want your parents to get a divorce, but really, it's better this way. I'm sure you didn't want to see your parents miserable. As for stepmom, she's disgusting. Her touching you and stuff is just creepy. Keep your distance from that one. I feel like she has some kind of crush on you and is trying to cover it up, but calling you her son.
This woman married your father 4 miss ago and is overstepping. She shouldn't be buying you personal care products or forcing you to use them. Boundaries are terrible.
Listen, your parents are your parents, but you don't have to be rude and selfish to someone out of some kind of oddly placed loyalty to your parents. Your stepmother took a lot of effort to get to know you and take care of you. Your mother is right, and you should act like a decent person and at very least respect her. On top of that, she's taken the time to open up to you about what I can only imagine to be a sore spot that she can't have her own children. So when you publicly and unnecessarily call her out as not my real parent, what are you really doing? Did you think she was unaware that she isn't your child? Do you think her friends thought that she was actually your mother? I presume not, so ask yourself, what was your intention in making these statements in front of her friends? If you have enough depth to be introspective about this, I think you will see that you were acting out of your own selfish feelings about your parents splitting up. It's okay to mess up, but you definitely owe them all an apology, and if you're strong enough, a proper explanation that does not attempt to excuse it. As for your parents break up and not asking you, why would they? If you think you should have the right to be with whomever you want one day, then why would you want them to be beholden to you about the very same thing? I'm sure it's hard to adjust and nobody likes it when their parents break up or move on, but that doesn't allow you to act selfish and rude to others. Own your behavior and make changes so you can be a better person for yourself and those around you.
I'm going to go with NAH. If you're not uncomfortable with her calling herself your mom, you should make that known to her, but it's all about how you do it. You're 19 now. For better or worse, you're an adult. As an adult, we no longer have the luxury of lashing out without consequences. Do you think that maybe a small part of you is so against that because you didn't agree with their divorce in the first place? It's a completely normal feeling. Not easy, but it is normal. But clearly, she adores you, she cares about you, and you yourself said that there's no bad blood or anything like that between you two. She's not trying to replace your mother, but you have every right to have that boundary. Not to mention, if even your mom said maybe that was a bit much, it might have been. But even still, I say no a-holes here. I'd like to think down the road you and your stepmother will have a healthy relationship.
I'm a stepmom. My stepchild is 5. I don't call her my child, always stepchild. And I don't pressure them to call me their mom. They call me by my first name. I've been in their life for half of their life so far. And even I don't expect to be treated as mom.
You accepted her love and attention for 2 years until she embarrassed you in front of her friends. You were 17 when they met, and allowed her to treat you kindly and take care of you and even play with your hair. You made no attempt to make any boundaries clear while the attention suited you and made you feel good. How dare you demand your parents remain unhappy just so you don't have to deal with split parents? Not only do you have 2 parents who love you, but also a third. You're legally an adult, yet you still can't come to terms with divorce. You blame a woman your dad didn't even know when the divorce happened?
It's enough that you consider her your stepmom rather than just my father's wife. She was trying to show off in front of her friends. And as you say, if she had told you, then you could have played along, but it was a shock, and so you responded accordingly.
I've been a stepson and never had a good relationship, my stepmom, but later found out my dad cheated, her before he divorced my mom. So, hey, that worked out. My son isn't mine biologically, but his bio dad has been very in and out over the years, and I've been there since she was pregnant with him. I'm the one he called dad first, and he still considers me first of the 2 of us. There is a lot more to this relationship we don't know, but while I don't think stating the facts make you an asshole, your mom is also right. My other kids were accepted by my son's family, and his dad's stepdad considers me as one of his own kids. There are a lot of folks who don't have many caring about them. If your stepmom cares about you that much, you are luckier than most. It's worth considering, and between being young and not being outside of the situation, it may not be a thing you would consider in your own. Best of luck, things.
I also got a stepmother when I was too old to feel like she was a parent to me. My aunt calls her your dad's wife, not your stepmother. She didn't help raise you, she just married your dad. She has typically been anywhere from neutral to kind toward me with some glaring missteps, especially around the time of my dad's death. When she first started coming around, I was pleasant enough, not rude or insulting, just kind of indifferent, but meeting her on her level, neutral. Over the years, I've noticed how she changed the way she referred to us, to her friends, from my husband's kids to my stepsons to just using our names. In short, we generally get along. This is much, much better than my friend's stepmother, who divorced my friend's dad but kept power of attorney and medical decisions. I forget the name of it. She then had him put in a nursing home and tries to block his kids from visiting. This includes discussing the nursing home plans with his kids, agreeing on a plan, and then doing something completely different and not telling them which nursing home it was. It was very much a see you next Tuesday move. It sounds like yours is not being neutral or mean to you, but going out of her way to be kind. So you're starting from a good point. You never have to think of her as a mom. I still call my stepmother by her first name, but it seems like she's going to be around for a while. Your mom, who I could imagine has legitimate reasons to dislike your stepmother, is even encouraging you to be kind to her. So it sounds like everyone is being as kind as they can be. Still, she said the wrong thing, which hit a nerve and you got upset and overreacted. I don't know I would go so far as to say YTA, but it does feel like you made a mistake and hurt someone who is kind to you and cares about you. She may have gone too far by calling you her son, but so did you when you chewed her out in front of her friends. See if you can sit down with her for a heart-to-heart. Don't invite your parents or you'll be outnumbered. There's nothing wrong with explaining to her that you still have some pretty complicated feelings regarding your folks' divorce and her referring to you as her son upset you. You can apologize for overreacting, but make sure she understands that being called her son was upsetting to you and why. Then you can talk about how to refer to each other going forward. Also, a related lesson, someone once gave me some terrific advice. Praise publicly, correct privately. If someone does a good job on something, let everyone know. If someone fucks up and it won't cause a problem to wait to correct it, do it in private. If you call people out in front of others, it typically makes the situation worse.